Welcome back to the Champions Podcast with Heather McCoy. And,
James Squires.
and we're so excited today because we have a special guest with us. Is somebody that I know and love, is Lorianna Steele. And we're going to let her introduce herself and let her share her story that we hope will inspire you. And we thank y'all for coming along to this episode. So, Lorianna, I know you well, but I'll let you tell your story and how you're kind of contributing to society and how you have just overcome a lot in your life.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel really blessed, honestly, to be in y'all's company. So thank you for having me. So yes, I am Lorianna Steele, Master Certified Health Education Specialist. I'm also a certified wellness practitioner and wellness coach, certified wellness coach. Um, my background is health promotion and public health. I'm a master of public health nutrition. And I have had a long and winding road in my life and career, and it's been filled with lots of bumps and valleys and challenges and victories and challenges and victories and even more challenges. So, I guess I could start kind of my story, my interesting story, let's put it that way, my relevant story kind of goes back to my college days. And even prior to that, I suffered from really deep depression for much of my teenage years and college years. And I partook in a, partook, I don't know what the word is, but I participated in a lot of heavy drinking and self-destruction behaviors and stuff. And I was really kind of headed in a dark direction. And but I was passionate about mental health at the same time. So even though I was struggling with it, I wanted to figure it out because I knew it didn't make sense what I was experiencing. I had no reason at all to be depressed, and I knew that. So that intrigued me with wanting to do something about it and help others. And that's really kind of the beginning of how everything started. So I went to college for psychology at USC, and I hated every minute of it. I bombed out of psychology like in the first semester and was like, okay, well, this isn't working. Um, so I took a different direction and went to Coastal Carolina for health promotion. And I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And when I got there, everything just kind of started clicking. I started learning things that I had never heard before, just about public health and health promotion and holistic wellness and stuff. And things started to really kind of click for me. And during that time, I also had a spiritual awakening where I rededicated my life to the Lord in 2006. And that is when the lid just flew off. And it's like I had a download almost. And I had a vision, a legitimate vision. And I can still see it to this day. I was given a vision of a health and wellness center. And it was going to have multiple modalities. And it was going to have nutrition and heart health and mental health and just education and workshops. And it was going to be fun and exciting. And I could even see literally what the building would look like. And I wrote it all down, all of it. And then I met someone, and that someone derailed me for the next 10 years. And I got married to this someone, and I endured spiritual, emotional, and sexual abuse for the next 10 years. And my life was, I questioned why I was alive a lot and really wished that I wasn't for a very long time. I had kids and lived 3 hours away from my family. And um, it was the darkest time of my life, and I had to fake my life a lot. Uh, so during that time, So going back to college, I graduated with a bachelor in health promotion. Turned my life around, stopped drinking, all that kind of stuff before I got married. So that marriage was, I have come to find out, it was material for how I would help others in the future. A lot of times we ask, why do bad things happen?
Mm.
And not necessarily to good people, just why do bad things happen, period. You know? And I, over the years, have learned that we go through things for the purpose of helping others who are going to go through the same thing or something similar or something relatable to it. And so, my purpose, I came to understand, was to be a source of comfort, guidance, a messenger, a leader for others who are struggling with whether it's depression or abuse or toxicity, like toxic relationships, and just not understanding how to navigate through that and giving them literal tools, like tools that they can work through. And that's what I was able to pick up along the way, was ways that I could take control back into my hands of what I was doing, that I wasn't, because during that marriage I was controlled, right? Which contributed to a lot of why I was where I was. So I took the power back into my hands and took control of my mental health and realized that there's no magic wand, because that's what I was looking for in like counseling and stuff. I was in counseling that whole time. We have to take charge of whether or not we are okay or not. So, like, it's so easy to get down. It's so easy to let life beat you up. It's so easy to just give up and roll over belly up and let circumstances dictate how we feel and how we present and how we show up and the decisions that we make. But it is also, it's possible and necessary for us to be the ones to stand up and say, no, I'm going to decide whether or not I'm beat up or, belly up and so forth and so on. So everything has led me into a track now of holistic health and wellness. And I have multiple modalities that I have learned to share with others. I use sound therapy and breath work and cognitive behavioral coaching and just a lot of different mental tools and somatic therapy. And all of that helps us ground and connect to ourselves and connect our mind, body, and spirit back into the whole being that we were designed to be.
Mm.
And I use that to help others navigate what they're going through and be in charge. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I can even remember being in the hospital sometimes, and I would just lay there in the hospital bed and have my eyes closed and like I was zoned out. And they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm using imagery. I'm imagining I'm not here. I'm at the beach. I've got the wave sounds in my ears, and I'm just at peace, and I'm not here." And they were like, "Well, that seems kind of good to be doing." I was like, "You have to do what you have to do to get your mind right, okay?"
Yeah. Yep. So one of the things that I tell people, my specialty, I didn't even say this. It's kind of interesting. I didn't say it, but my specialty is stress management. That's what it all boils down to, is stress management.
We all need that.
Exactly. Stress is not going anywhere. It will always be here.
Mm.
Everyone's always going to have problems. No one's going to have a perfect life, 365, for the rest of their life. That doesn't exist.
Mm.
About everything in your past was material to use today. And it reminds me of, I can't remember it quote for quote, but I've seen it tons on social media. And it's basically saying that your story turns into somebody else's survival guide. And
Mm-hmm.
it's true, because when you're going through the storm, to say you're kind of thinking, as you said, why is this having to happen to me? How am I going to get through this? But then once you're through it, you realize God was just piecing everything together for you to be able to be empowered by what you survived. And I just think it's so amazing what you're doing now, because I know I may not be in that situation, but I know there's so many people out there that truly are in a situation they may not even feel comfortable talking about, but seeing somebody else go through it and say, hey, she survived it. Look at
Mhm.
what she's doing now. I know it's helping a lot more people than you probably even realize. Just even seeing a social media post,
Thank you.
they feel comfortable, saying, hey, enough is enough for me and I need better for myself. So, Champ, do you have any questions for her?
So, do I have any questions? I found myself felt like I was sitting on a platform and I was sitting there just jotting stuff down as she was going at it. So I don't know how crazy it is. But first of all, thank you for that because I think like you were saying that there's power in the story and there's power in the expression of that story. The first thing that caught my attention when you talked about holistic health, what does that mean? Elaborate on that just a little bit more.
So, holistic health is when you're considering all the different dimensions of your wellness. So, we are more than just a body of bones and muscle and blood and skin, right? We are mind, body, and spirit, but then we have our emotional health, we have our psychological health, our physical health, our intellectual health. Like how much are we adding to our knowledge and exploring and expanding our mind? Reading is your intellectual health. There's your social health. And this is, health and wellness.
Mhm.
Your circle of people, your experiences, and even just the stranger on the street. How comfortable are you socializing, and who are you surrounding yourself with? Occupational health is where you're going to work. Is it healthy? Is it toxic? Is it helping and growing you, or is it tearing you down?
Mhm.
Um, I don't think I said five. I'm missing one. But spiritual health. So, your spiritual health, and that's not it's not speaking about like your religion, it's speaking about your connection to yourself and to God, and but the fullness of accepting who you are and where you are in life and what your purpose is and where you're going. So, all of those things is what holistic health and wellness is.
Mhm.
You can take that a step further to speak to not putting into your body toxins and things that are going to destroy your body instead of help grow it. So, there are different, avenues that you can take, but I focus on, say, like, nutrition is my focus for this holistic avenue and using food as medicine because God gave us everything on this planet that we ever need to survive and thrive, including the people that create the different things that we need that maybe didn't come from the earth, but God supplies us with food to nourish our body for most of our needs, almost all of our, sicknesses and things like that. So that's what I mean when I say holistic health and wellness.
I thought it was so interesting because, and Heather, I think I've shared this with you before. When I was at Asbury Seminary, we would talk a lot about, head and heart go hand in hand, and how now look, being outside of that kind of educational bubble, but then bringing all of that, like you're talking about, into where we currently are, just how all those things fit into play to make us who we are. And the question then becomes, what are you doing? I mean, I had somebody ask me yesterday, well, is your life just perfect? Because you don't ever complain, you don't ever have stress. I'm like, okay. I love you because
Well,
stress
yeah,
will always
that's
be there. I
awesome.
mean, it will be. It will always be there, but how do you care for yourself? Because if you're not caring for yourself, you can't care for somebody else. And so those are the two things that I think just stunned me when you said holistic health and just being who you are, and also but allowing the story not to define but glorify the glory that he
Yeah,
is kind of created and sustained and making it who we need to be.
And I think
exactly.
so many people don't realize, and I say this all the time, even when I do my inspirational videos, is I learned a long time ago that I'm always going to have stress and I probably carry a lot more than most people do my age because of what I live with. But I'm a upbeat person because mentally I know that mental wellness and emotional wellness go hand in hand to being able to be physically well. And so
Absolutely.
many people, I think, when they're falling into being, depressed or having so much anxiety they can't even function throughout the day, it really takes a toll on their body. And then, a lot of people sometimes can get on medication or they go to therapy or whatever it is that may help them see a total change in themselves. And I wish that more people would realize that right away, that it's okay to need help. It's okay to reach out to these avenues, even like with you with your sound therapy or whatever it may be, to get well, because we're always going to have problems and everybody, adapts differently. But I just learned a long time ago, you have to keep your mentality good and your wellness, emotional wellness good, or you can't even function throughout life.
Mm.
Yeah. And there's so much that could be said about that. Um, when you are so depressed, you feel helpless. You feel like it's impossible to pick yourself up. That's not even an option when you're so down and depressed and in the darkness. I have always said that depression for me has felt more like an entity and a place. Like it's both. It's in my book. It's called "You Think You Know, But You Have No Idea." In my book, I describe depression as like a sticky black tar monster, is what I described it as. And it's like it reaches up and it pulls you down. And so that is the place where you you have to ask God for the strength and the power to that you do not have. It's because you in those moments you don't know where it is. And he gives you the light inside that tunnel in that moment. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So he becomes the light inside the tunnel to shake off that monster, to shake off and dispel the darkness in those moments. And then, even though you're still in the tunnel, you're still in the darkness, you have that light to guide you through until you get to the light. So even though you may feel dark at that moment, you can reach out and find little things. God, nutrition. You don't want, you want this, greasy cheeseburger, but you really know that this salad with the grilled chicken is going to help you more than this greasy cheeseburger in that moment. So it's just choices that you decide in those moments to better yourself, even though you don't feel like it. It's so hard when you're depressed to pull yourself out, but you make little individual decisions in each single little moment that you know is going to help you in the long run, even if you don't want to.
And I'm
Is it is it in
too, because not to cut Champ off there, but to say that I've always found, and I say this all the time, that it also depends on who you have around you. Like me and Champ talk about this all the time, but we like to surround ourselves with positive people and people that are encouraging us and uplifting us. Not that we're oblivious to other people's problems or ignorant to say, well, we don't want to be around somebody that's depressed. But to say that that's what people need in order to succeed. And so
Mhm.
then, people that are depressed are surrounding themselves with other people that are depressed, and you're like, Well, how are you going to get out of it? That's what you're surrounding yourself
Yeah.
with.
And that goes back to that social wellness that I was mentioning. Champ, you had a question.
You talked about the light and the monster. Do you think that the kind of when you seek that, Lord, I need your help in this moment, do you think that's instantaneous or not? I mean, because I feel like that's going to be, I feel like after I hear you say it, which I agree wholeheartedly, but for some, well, I didn't just zap it and it was, I had to fight. And you talked about that too at the end, so don't I didn't miss that. But I mean, do you think that one moment is instantaneous or is it a process, do you think?
Both and.
Find the light.
So honestly, I think it depends on where you're at.
Okay.
So for the same person, in some instances, it might be instantaneous. And then on another day,
Okay.
it might be a process. Depression, like I said, it is so complex and it is both an entity and a place. Um, it's the tunnel and it's the entity. And like I said, I think it a lot of times has to do with where you're at in the journey and just where you're at in other areas of those dimensions of wellness. And as awkward as it sounds, it's whatever God has laid out for your challenges. It's there might be something that you need to overcome first. So it really is it's still he is always going to be there no matter what. And that's why I say you have to reach for the light inside the tunnel because the monster is still gonna chase you. I to this day am haunted by it. I mean you see where I'm at, but I still have to shake off the monster sometimes. So it's gonna chase you. Um, but it is a process in the end.
And Heather, this might sound corny or a little cheesy, but I think about, the name of the podcast, and I don't know if I want to do this with every single one, but when I think about, a word of the champion and somebody that's, you're talking about being chased by the monster of depression or anxiety or whatever the case may be, you got to figure out where your fight comes from.
Mm.
Kind of the fight or flight idea of I'm in this moment. And you even just said that about the different persons or the different days. Some days it's easier to have that instant, you know, it's going to be okay. And some days it's, no, I've got to keep pushing. I've got to step one step further than I did before. And so how deep is your kind of your I don't want to say champion complex, but that's honestly the only way that I can form it. And how much are you willing to fight for something?
That's a good point too. And so I'm gonna go back to what I was saying a minute ago about those different dimensions of wellness.
Mhm.
They all overlap, right? They all connect to each other and they all inform each other.
Mhm.
So let's say you have not been, let's say you've been staying up late at night. Like for me, I've been staying up late to study, okay? I started school again because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I have been staying up late doing my homework, and it's made me extremely tired. Okay, so that's a dimension of wellness, my physical wellness, which also affects my mental wellness, which also affects my emotional wellness. And it's also going to affect my occupational wellness. That one little thing of whether or not I get adequate sleep is going to affect almost every area of my life.
Mhm.
The fatigue is going to make fighting depression harder. If I'm focusing on my physical health, I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily for the purpose of that physical health, thinking about my emotional or mental or whatever. I just want to be healthy. I want to take care of my body. It's going to make it easier to battle those other challenges.
I think it's
And
even
mhm.
going like to you're talking about how bad do you want it, where this and this and this affects something. I think so many people like when for example, like new life goals for the new year, and people get so overwhelmed because they make these huge goals to do in like 6 to 8 weeks, and then they get overwhelmed, and by week two they're like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But for something like you're talking about, it's just going to the basics, saying let's get out the distractions, let's focus on positivity. How bad do I want it? How bad do I want to change? And know that if you really, really want this, you're going to do what it takes, and realize that every little piece has to come together in order for you to move forward.
Yeah. And celebrating the victories.
Mm.
Yes.
Even if the victory
Put
was
that
that you got
there.
out of bed.
That'll preach. That'll preach. Oh, I love that.
You
That's
know,
so good.
there's a girl on TikTok. I love her to death. Because I need her name, I can't think of it. But she talks about, she's like, I took a shower today. And she's celebrating the fact that she got out of bed and she took a shower that day because that is so hard for her because of her depression. There are little things that we need to celebrate that we take for granted. And when we can choose the little victories, you'll see how much they add up.
Mhm.
Heather, for you, standing up and walking 50 feet after, that's a victory for someone who hasn't been through what you're going through, or what you went through. It's like 50 feet, what the heck is that? But you needed that 50 feet, or the 50 steps, or whatever it was. That was a victory, and you got to celebrate that, and others got to celebrate it with you. And that's the same thing. These valleys, these challenges, it's those little victories that add up and build up. And one day you look back and you realize, oh my gosh, I've walked 10 miles, because you just counted those every single little step and every little victory along the way.
Don't forget to celebrate small victories. They just always look at this huge, I have to run a marathon, or I have to do this and this. And it's like walking to the mailbox. You're alive, you're breathing. If you have the ability to do that, that's a blessing, so it's really important, I think, for people to, and me and Champ talk about this all the time, treating life as a gift, because it really is. And if you're able to be breathing and alive and functioning, then that's a blessing. And hopefully people will be encouraged by this, because I've really enjoyed getting to just hear your perspective. And I mean, I've known you all my life, obviously, and I've admired you doing everything you've done, but it's just really amazing what you, like you said, took the materials and what you're doing now. And I want people to be able to know, like, how to contact you if they'd like to talk or schedule something or read your book. Like, how can they find you?
How can
And
I find the book? I want to find the book. I'm going to find the book.
So my Instagram is Lolo the Coach. That's my Instagram. On Facebook, it's Lorianna the Coach because Lolo the Coach was taken. So, but Lolo the Coach on everything except for Facebook. Um, like I said, it's Lorianna the Coach. And my website is lswellnesssolutions.com. And you can get to my store, and the book is available. You can buy it on Amazon. I think there's a digital version and a physical version. But when you go to my Instagram, there's a link tree on there that'll take you to everything. So
Well, Heather, I'm going to let you close this one out, but I do want to say thank you because that was that was like it was drinking from a fire hose, but it was kind of an everflow of constant just joy and really the resolve. That's if there's anything that I learned from you, I think it's the resolve to push forward and to keep stepping and downloading, honestly, whatever you're walking through and what you're walking into. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
yeah, and thank you for coming on, because I just knew I wanted to have you as a guest because I was like, I knew your story was so amazing. But just how you uplift people and want to help people, you can't change what you went through, but you can change helping others. And I think that's so powerful. And like I said, I know you're helping a lot of people just by being comfortable sharing. A lot of people don't feel comfortable doing that and they stay hidden in a shell. And so I'm glad that you're not like that and you're using your story for good and God's got you for sure.
Thank you.
You
I
a
really
champion,
appreciate
that's for sure.
it. What now? I couldn't hear you.
I said you are a champion for sure. That's for certain.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here with you guys. And yeah, it truly is just this is what I'm here for. Sometimes it's exhausting, and I celebrate the exhaustion because it means I'm making a difference. So,
Well, thank you for being with us. And everyone, please check out Lorianna's social media and find out what she's up to next. And if you're going through what she has been in a similar road, know that she's a safe person that you can talk to because everybody needs community with no matter what they're going through. And I hope you'll come back next week. And we have truly enjoyed this. And we hope you all have a blessed week. And God bless you.